when they collect those results, there is no upscaling it to another platform where the politicians can come. If you watched from the National Election Center in Abuja, when the politicians were complaining, nobody anywhere brought any party agents' result sheets, what they mined from their party agents. They were just addressing the press and talking about, things that have no. So basically speaking, in assessing Mahmood, the introduction of these technologies, the beavers and the IREF, were the reasons why you have the most diversified National Assembly in 2023. Diversified because opposition political parties in the National Assembly, in the House of Representatives, were close to 42% opposition political parties. In Nasarawa State alone, the SDP, the Social Democratic Party, won the Senate seats, won the House of Representatives seats. Labour Party and other opposition parties, the most diverse that you have had since our return to democracy in 1999. So really, it is also these same beavers and IREF that made it possible for the president of the country, then president of the country, may his soul rest in peace, President Muhammadu Buhari, lost in Katsina, lost in Kaduna, where he has a cult following, and lost in Abuja. And even opposition party became a senator in the FCT. Election is a competitive enterprise. Once there is that competition, where once opposition can win elections and it is not manipulated, then you can't be saying that election, you can't be scoring people who conducted that election the way I hear our colleagues do. So my sense is that we need to be a bit more nuanced. For me, if I'm scoring Mahmood's commission, I will be scoring him 8/10.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wago, for your submission. Now, 8/10, that's a very big mark, right? But let me ask you a question, because he went out there, he promised Nigeria 7 and 8. He made Nigerians believe that their vote will count. Now, on the day of the election, it appears everything was going smoothly, right? The vote of coming from the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Rep, everything was going smoothly. Why did we have a problem with the presidential election? Why do we have that problem? Because these are the questions that Nigerians are asking, and nobody have actually come out to say, this is what happened. Let me land, please, let me land. Now, and we keep hearing there was a glitch. The thing here is, Professor Mahmood Yakubu have not come out to explain to Nigerians what that glitch is all about. You can respond, sir.
My set, if you listen to me carefully, follow the trend of my conversation. I did tell you that first, election is a unit-centric activity, meaning that elections are conducted in polling units. And if you are in a polling unit and you are involved in the election, you will have party agents. When the process of everything that had to do with that glitch was after event. Before you had a glitch, the party agents in the polling units have already the result sheets in their pockets. I need you to underline that. Then what the glitch is a technological challenge. And INEC has written its 2023 report. Part of the things that needs to happen is anything you want to hide from people, put it in a report. You will find out that people will still be saying that thing has not been. INEC has a near 507-page report detailing their own explanation about what happened. But that thing that happened, that thing that happened does not fundamentally take away the fact that the people who are involved in the conduct of this election, the party agents and the security agents, already have the results that are uploaded in the platform. That's important. I have said that I can't put my head around why even a policy issue that is defensible, they had to take that long time to be able to explain it. But be that as it may, anybody who is invested in the electoral process will have to get much more interested in reading the. If you check today, there is a 2011 election report, there is a 2015 election report, there is a 2019 election report. Those reports are not just meant to be kept in shelves. They are meant to be studied and engaged. So if the tragedy of public commentary in Nigeria is that ignorance parades as authority, what do I mean? These reports are there, and people are still asking, oh, INEC has not explained what the glitch is. Why then do they produce the election audit report and make it available on their website? And there are also, copies of that report that is available. In fact, in many places, it was shared free of charge in many of INEC engagements. So the problem is not having the report. The problem is not reading it. And even those who read it sometimes keep quiet when these kind of issues come up, so that they are not, they are not looked as if they are defending INEC. This is about institutional strengthening. There are people whose responsibility is to pull down those institutions. And when we are talking, we have to always be nuanced in listening carefully who is talking. The person who is talking, is he an institutional builder? Even if we have challenges with technology, and we do in our different, organizations, in our different, have challenges with technology most of the time. The thing to do is not to jettison or to, completely, black out that challenge. Kenya had that kind of challenge in 2011, but they didn't stop there. They improved on what they have and have built on it. But we are in a hurry always. We are people who are in a hurry. Once there's a little challenge, then we cry blue mother. I heard somebody talk about the expenses for 2023 election. The budget for 2023 election was not for the conduct of election. It had to do with emoluments of close to 15,000 staff and over a million ad hoc staff. Their stipends are in it. There is also the issue of INEC facilities that were burnt in so many places.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for your opinion. You are very much you have been part of electoral reforms in Nigeria, so your opinion weighs heavily. But there are areas I quite disagree with you, especially scoring Prof very high. When it comes to observers, for instance, I don't know how many countries that depend on observers to protect. I understand the role observers play. But we are saying if we are to trust what INEC did alone, yeah, I have seen observers who just put their head in a car and come out with a different tag. I understand what politicians do. But what we observe on election day, there was a video, it was online, on the governorship election in Lagos State. I think it was in Lekki, when one of the electoral officers, we are shouting and announcing to voters that there will be no electronic accreditation in this polling unit. That was the instruction. There are so many digital evidence of, bridging the electoral laws. we would have expected. And unfortunately, no civil society is part of ICES, for instance. So our report is as good as being used for electoral reforms. My question is, where election results were uploaded 3-4 days after election. The argument against those who challenge such results is that you are supposed to have your own copy. What if some political parties, as all of us agree, do not have the resources to have agents at every polling unit? Are you saying we cannot trust INEC? The form EC60, I think 60E, which is the public listing, in most places in Imo State, even electoral officers on election duty did not know what that form is. They didn't give them those forms. So in cases like that, are you saying, well, if you don't have an agent in a polling unit, well, forget it, it's not the fault of INEC. Can't we trust an institution we have invested so much on, even without party agents at every polling unit? The integrity of election is not how far political parties were able to mobilize resources for polling unit agents. It is to what extent can we rely on the institutions all of us have invested so much trust and resources in. So if we are to excuse INEC because political parties were unable to mobilize for polling unit agents, then we have to question the resources we invested in INEC. That's my own argument. As I said, there are institutional challenges that we cannot all put on Professor Mahmood or INEC staff. There are logistic challenges we encountered that day. For instance, in Imo State, there was a local government. What happened was the drivers, they mobilized for election day duty, got threats from people who said there will be no election, and they withdrew a night before election. So it was a big challenge. Anybody who saw that thing would say, okay, INEC have come again. But it wasn't INEC in that case. It was just an environmental factor that undermined that election starting as early as possible. That's why when I made my submission earlier, I said we cannot put all the blames on Prof. But there are instances where mutilated result sheets were uploaded, people's faces were uploaded. Meanwhile, INEC own guidelines said where there are conflicts that they were going to take results on IREV. So how are we now saying let us forget about what was uploaded? You can't just upload results without the beavers. So how these people's faces and their private spaces got uploaded on IREV and heads didn't roll? That's my own argument against Prof. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Yudi, for your question. Unfortunately, Mr. Nwagu is no longer on the speaker section. We are trying to see if he can request for the mic again and rejoin. But I can see we have a lady here with us. Engineer Sandy, I'll come back to you. So please do bear with me. There's a lady here. Please, let's allow her to speak. Mr. Ajiboro, please, if I pronounce your name the wrong way, please correct me. Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mindset. Good evening, everyone.
Okay. All right. Please hold your thought for a minute, Mr. Ezenwa. I'm just going to pass the mic back to the lady. If you allow me to, if she's okay for you to continue, that's fine. Ms. Ajibara, are you okay for Mr. Mwagu to respond to Yudi? If not, I will continue.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mwagu, please, let's be very mindful of time. You have the mic, sir. Thank you.
Okay, quickly, thank you for my brother who was citing when you are talking about elections, we don't talk too many, we don't talk some, we talk statistics. We engage statistically. So, and then if you have 1,000 polling units and something happened in 10 polling units, that is not, because it's a human activity, that is not enough to vitiate the fact that election is whether properly conducted or not. So the challenge, the challenge with this conversation is that once something is online, you won't take time to say, in this area where this thing happened, how many polling units were involved in this kind of issue. I keep repeating, and I will not stop repeating the fact that many times, the challenge of looking at the IREF, somebody has to raise a complaint, not a meddlesome interloper, not somebody. The party agent is the representative of the candidate in the electoral process. So if the results that were mined at the polling unit is not what is uploaded, the returning officer will not by himself decide to go to the IREF. He will not, because somebody addressed a press conference, go to the IREF. A political from the polling unit and say, in polling unit 100, the result we have is not what we are seeing on the IREF. It is on the basis of that a returning officer can then check the IREF. That is what the law says. So it's not just the institution saying, because election activity is a flurry activity. If there is no complaint, there is no need to go to the IREF. So, and the complaint is not verbal. The complaint is not you coming to the collation center and saying, we will not agree. You will come with the results from your party agent, the one who represented you in the locus in co, where the activity has taken place. That's the importance of party agents. If there is no complaint, people, do you know, the Electoral Act has even made it that if a presiding officer refuses to upload results in the portal, is liable to go to jail. But people don't walk to jail. There has to be a complaint. Somebody has to complain. If nobody complains, nobody is going to take action on that. Nobody is excusing the fact that there are unscrupulous elements within INEC who may want to manipulate the electoral process. But everybody, the politicians are the ones for whom this exercise is being done. They have a responsibility, and nobody should excuse that responsibility from them. They have a responsibility to do the onerous job of ensuring that their complaint is evidence-based. And for us, the observers, the problem with many of our observers is that we are party agents in disguise. Whereas in our mind, we are party
Sorry, Mr.
agents,
observer. Sorry, Mr. Wang, can you mute your mic for a minute? I'm not sure if it's from my end, but it appears this line keep cutting off, because I do not want a situation where somebody will misquote you. Please, if anybody can hear him clearly, guys, if you guys can hear him, I would allow him to continue. But I can sense that from my own end, it appears it keep cutting off. Are you guys okay with that? Somebody can unmute your mic and help me out, please, because it appears it keep cutting off.
Mindset, what happens is that he was receiving a call, but he's audible now. A call was coming in through his phone.
All right, thank you very much. Every other person okay with that? We are okay, so we can allow him to finish his submission. Okay, that's fine. Mr. Awagu, thank you, sir. If you can kindly round up quickly so I can pass the mic to Ms. Ajibaro. Hello, is he still with us? All right, it appears he's not responding. So on that note, let's hear from Ms. Ajibaro. Thank you for allowing Mr. Awagu to continue. You have the mic.
All right, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. the topic is reviewing INEC's performance under Professor Mahmood Yakubu, and based on so far, our reflections to the 2023 elections, and I think it's quite unfair to reduce the 10-year tenure of person's leadership to just the 2023 election. So let's unpack a couple of things um, in the space of 10 years of
Okay,
leadership.
mindset.
Right?
Thank you. I wasn't receiving any political challenge. What I'm saying is,
Sorry, Mr. Okay, I think he dropped. Sorry, I apologize, Mr. Sorry, Mr. Gibora, I really apologize. Please continue with the solution.
Yeah. One thing we might not realize is that Professor Mahmood Yakubu's tenure is actually the longest in INEC's history, and that continuity has helped the commission to build some sort of consistency in policy and process, right? And over the 10 years, right, INEC ran two elections, which were several off-cycle polls and by-elections across the country without leadership disruption, right? And this stability matters in an environment where institutions like often reset with every administration. So we have to give it to him for that. Also, under his leadership, right, we had the largest registry. Right? The contrast between administration and participation deserves a deeper policy analysis. Now, the 2023 elections that we are and focused on was actually the most ambitious technologically. The Beavers and IREV, yes, it was newly introduced, but it was meant to, guarantee the purpose, right, for those technology was to get real-time accreditation and transparency. If the INEC chairman had an intent, right, to maybe treat this particular election cycle like the previous ones, I don't think it's something that it would have in place, right? The intent was there. Now, however it turned out is beyond his control because he was not the one at the polls, just like Sir Izzy has said, right? He was not the one at the polls uploading. Those were responsibility of Nigerians like us. Let me not digress, right? The lesson from 2020, right? The technology can enhance credibility, but it cannot substitute the trust or the logistics. And I think it's going to be very unfair for us to place the entire dynamic of how the election is expected on Mahmoud's leadership. Why are we not crying about how APC lost the presidential election in Lagos State? Would that have happened if Beavers and IREV wasn't in place? I don't think so. Two, Operation Mahmoud operated through serious national pressure. In 2023, INEC had to deploy material and personnel under immense pressure. Despite the barriers, the election still held in 36 states. This is an evidence of institutional resilience, but also a sign of how much Nigeria relies on human beings rather than structural efficiency. Next will be the legal and political reform navigation. The passage of the 2022 Electoral Act marked like a turning point in our electoral process. It provided a legal basis for electronic accreditation and result transmission, which we all know was not praised by all politicians in the country. The outcome, yes, the outcome, like I said, the outcome was quite promising at the beginning, but it didn't go as planned. That again shouldn't be hand over the leadership of a man over a span of 10 years. Public scrutiny and democratic awareness. 2023 also proved that Nigerians now interrogate elections in real time. For the first time in the country, I didn't skip the whole time from the election phase to post-election. We could literally track. Any layman with a phone and an internet could literally log onto that portal and track every result, every upload, an announcement that was analyzed online and offline. My brother here raised the point about, oh, why are people uploading pictures of their face, pictures of their this, da, 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 da. You wouldn't be seeing that if there was no transparency. Again, I think we should separate the fact that there was an intent and there was an outcome. Now, whether I want to support or criticize, I saw a comment, while Tio was talking and while Sir Eze was talking. Now faces the test of maturity. Can it continue to innovate? Can they innovate from what happened? Can they take lessons from 2023 elections to ensure that there's credibility in employing the right people? Can parties also learn from the mistakes from 2023 and ensure that they put measures in place to ensure that what happened in 2023 doesn't happen again? So it's left to the new INEC chairman to innovate, to rebuild trust, and to refine the logistics, which is the footprint of what Yakubu has left behind. Leadership is always, everybody has a lot to say until they're in the position of leadership. It's very easy for one to blame the dirt on the floor on the roads on the president. But it is people like you and I, it's your neighbor that puts it there. The president will not come from Aso Rock to pick that for you. So I think if we are reflecting on someone's leadership across a tenure, it should be based on the work he has put in. Could it have been better? Yes. But was the intent clear? I rest my case. Thank you very much, Mindset.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Ajiburu, for your wonderful submission. As always, this is an open platform. Everybody have the right to air their view. Her view is that Professor Yakubu Mahmood did very well. Things could have been done much better. That is her view. So you would disagree with her. I have a question for her. But one thing, as always, that we've done on this platform, we've done name callings and all this, and we're not going to, accommodate such behavior, right? I see some comment on the comment section. She has gone in her pocket and everything. It is her own opinion. It has to be respected. If you want to if you disagree with her, request the mic and we'll pass the mic to you. On that note, I'll pass the mic to Pharmacy. Theo and Engineer Sanya will come back to you. Just bear with me for 1 minute. Not 1 minute, please. Just bear with me for some minute. Let's hear from Pharmacy. Pharmacy, you have the mic. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, I've been listening to all the speakers and all that. Fine, they have fine intonations and all that, but they are far from reality. seriously far from reality. Now, mindset, I was a collation officer. Now, in my polling unit, in my ward, because as a collation, I was a collation officer for a ward. In the ward I have 70 polling agents, 70 polling agents in one ward. And in my local government, we have 10 wards. That means if my result is being changed, I will have to bring 70 people to the collation center to come and tell them that the result is changed. Because if I don't do that, they will tell me you are talking trash. Now, if my full local government is changed, I will have to bring nothing less than over 600 people, either to the court or the collation center. Now, in that 2023 election, in River State, in one local government called Obiakpo local government, the APC scored 15,000 votes, while the Labour Party scored 78,000 votes. But after switching off the IREF, what they gave the PD was 3,000, and they gave them 71,000 votes. Now tell me, in a full local government, you want me to bring 600 people to a collation center to defend that result? For how long? How long will it take? Look, even Mahmood said it with his mouth. The IREF was a game changer. I hate it when people come online and say IREF was just a viewing portal. What INEC said, if the INEC result does not tally with what was collated, they will suspend it. That shows that IREF is more important. When Atiku went to court in 2019 and was talking about server, they said he was not known to know. And that is why they brought in IREF. IREF is to cross-check that results that you are giving is not fake. Now, from election results I've seen, now, mindset, I'll tell you vividly, if you want to win election in that 2020 election, just go with your talks. Wait for people. The moment they finish seeing all the results and go to from ECAB, which is the world collation result. Impute any figure and tell them if you are not angry, if you should go and bring all your agents, impute any elections, impute any figure. If you change a full local government, just get the other party is going to bring 700 because they will not listen to anybody. It's only the agent that signed the results. That's how terrible Nigeria election is. It is only the agent that signed the result at the polling unit. So if you are changing a full local government result, which you can do comfortably in the collection center, you are going to tell the other person to go and bring 800 people. And the INEC was supposed to be a game changer, but I don't know, they switch. If you check the House of Reps Senate result, you see that people that won elections were people that are unimaginable. But when it comes to the presidential election, it was switched off until today. Yakubu said, if you go to write an exam,
All right, pharmacy, please hold your thought for a minute. I'm not sure if it's from my end, but you keep turning off, you keep leaving and coming back, and it's not clear. So
same here.
Okay,
same here.
Please, sir, if you can find, sorry, can you mute your mic for a minute, please? All right, this place is recorded, and they know how I do things. I like to do things and make sure we do it the right way, right? So if you're struggling with your network or you're in a place that the network is not clear, we are not running away. We are still here. Find a place that is suitable, or if a call is coming through, you can just take the call, leave the platform and rejoin. But the idea that you're speaking and it's cutting off it doesn't really sit well with me. So not only you, sir, at least to those who will speak after him. But if you think you can continue with your submission, please go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yeah, it's very clear now. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, now I said if you are writing an exam and they give you a good conducive environment with AC and they tell you to write the exam there and all that spacious environment, and after writing the exam, the lecturers come, collect your question, your answer sheet, tear it off, and give you 20 or give you 10. Does it mean that that exam is worthy because you have the best of environment to sit on and write your exams? The main reason is your result. If you are being shortchanged, everything, the entire process is as good as lost. And the former speaker is saying, go and bring your agent. And these are the things, the kind of loopholes that INEC put in place. Mindset, if they change your result, like let me repeat it again, if they change your result in a local government, more than 1,000 people for that local government, all the agents, and not anybody, agents that signed results to tell you how cumbersome it will be. That means if they change your result in like 5 states, just imagine you are going to bring like 5,000 people to come and defend that result. When will you finish? Even in 6 months, that INEC is saying electoral tribunal will take 6 months. 6 months, you cannot entertain it. And that is the kind of loopholes. The former person that spoke, I want to tell you vividly, if IRF was not switched off, APC would have scored 200,000 votes in Lagos. I'm saying it online. APC would not have scored 200,000 votes in Lagos. My friend, Nigeria 2023 election is not different from the 2015 election. You can just hijack anything, write any result in your formicate B, C, and D, and E, and announce it and let everybody go to hell. That is how Nigerian election is. The IRF was not basically an election reporter. The IRF was supposed to monitor, to make sure that whatever is in your Form ECA tallies with what is on the IRF. That is, and the truth of that is that when you get your Form ECA from your polling unit, when you get your form, anything can happen between your Form ECA, when you are taking from your polling unit to your collation center. The IRF that you uploaded was supposed to justify whatever result that was being changed. And if you switch that thing off, the moment you switch it off, anything you see, it goes. That is where Nigerians election, Mahmoud failed Nigerians in that 2023 election. Mahmoud failed us in that 2023 because everybody believed that the IRF was supposed to be, and he said it, the IRF is a game changer. It's a game changer. It is not a viewing portal. It is supposed to monitor to make sure it tallies. So I hate it when people come online and say it's just a viewing portal, just to view and go. View and what? View and what? So these are some of the problems that we keep having. Let me just stop here and let me just stress the fact. There are a lot of shenanigans that are going on in that election that with time I will begin to explain all of them one after the other. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Pharmacy. Comrade, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mindset. I don't.
Mindset. I thought you said that I will go before him.
No.
Now. Why are you changing?
No. Just hold your thought for a minute, Theo. Let him speak. You've spoken already before. Let him speak. Then we'll come back to you, please. Thank you. Comrade, you have the mic, sir.
Mindset. Theo is my brother. Will not correct. Let him go. I'll come when he's done.
Okay, that's fine. If you're okay with that, Theo, he allowed you. He said you should go ahead. You just be.
I want to sincerely thank my brother, Comrade Mo. We've been on so many projects together, so thank you for this opportunity. Please, Mindset. There's one notion that I really, really would want to, correct here. When people, come up to make allegations like as in the result viewing portal, cannot have a glitch. Even this space that we are on right now, many of us could not even join earlier. All because of what? All because of technical glitch. So technical glitch is not something, it's something that is very, very, that is something that is very, very common when it comes to technology. I am not holding brief for the INEC. I don't work for the INEC. Neither am I holding brief for Professor Mahmood. However, the fact remains that 2023 general, elections, if we had been pragmatic with that elections, I don't think that we'll be on this space even having this conversation to start with. I don't think we'll be on this space, having this conversation this night. And see, the earlier we start, as in speaking and thinking with logic rather than emotions, the better for us as a people. First of all, mindsets. I love data so much, and I stopped bothering myself about 2023, general elections when I looked at the data right from 2015 up until 2023. And mindset, let me remind you and everyone on this space that in 2015, APC scored 15,424,000 votes against the sitting president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who scored 12,853,000 votes, and the difference was 2,571,000 votes. Now, in 2019, APC scored 15,191,847 votes, while PDP scored 11,262,978 votes. What was the difference? The difference was 3,928,869,000. Now, coming to 2023 elections, we were literally on this space begging people that a divided opposition against the ruling party will not work for us. People were naive. People went about saying that nothing like a divided opposition, that everybody should go and answer their name at the at the poll. And we all went to the poll and saw a result which the ruling party scored 8,794,726 votes. PDP, Labour Party, NMPP together scored 14,582,740 votes. They will be able to defeat the opposition. These are the issues. But people are not looking at this. This was an election that the current president lost in his own stronghold, Lagos State. Who could have believed in the history of this country that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would lose an election in Lagos State? What are we saying now? See, 2027 is around the corner again. And we should all go into that election as a divided opposition, and you will see results. People are not looking at in that area of the 2023 elections where votes, were scattered everywhere. Kwankwaso was in Kanu doing his own, dividing opposition's votes. P2B was dividing opposition votes. Atiku was dividing opposition votes. And result came out, and people are now blaming Mahmood. Mahmood is not responsible for your misfortune. Our choices before and after that election was what was responsible for the outcome of that election. And we must take we must take accountability and take responsibility for our actions, especially our electoral actions in 2023 general elections. People may insult me. I am used to your insults. I don't care. You can insult me all you want. But the fact remains that based on data and based on available as in fact, that divided opposition affected as in the outing of both the PDP, the LP, and NNPP in that election. This was the same elections as in this Mahmood that we are even talking about. This was the same elections that a secondary school teacher defeated. Bola Ahmed Tinubu lost in Osun State. That tells you, at least to a reasonable extent, as in how transparent that election was. So, and I want to ask people on this page, especially people who are coming to tell us, especially this, the so-called obedience, who are coming to tell us, as in on this space, that the election was, was rigged in favor of, as in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that Obi won that election. I want to ask you one question. Was the result that we got from the Southeast, did the result reflect the will and the aspirations of the people of Southeast? And who conducted that election? What are we saying now? Was it not the same Mahmood that conducted the election that many of you praised that Obi got 97% votes in the Southeast? In the North Central, he defeated Atiku, defeated what is his name? Defeated Bola Ahmed in the same as in North Central. Or are we talking about some local governments, especially Christian-dominated local governments in Adamawa State, the home state of Alhaji Abubakar, where this same would be defeated as all the ruling, defeated as his opponent. So the election that was conducted in those local governments where Obi won, were those as in elections were those elections that were rigged in that same place. So these are the questions that we need to start asking ourselves. If Obi could defeat Bola Ahmed Tinubu with all their structures in some places, to tell political parties having a very, very strong agent that will not easily sell them off or compromise during election. It is very, very important. Many of these people, they will spend billions of naira campaigning and going from one place to another, but without having a structure that mandates their vote during the election. Trust me, with my experience with elections in this country, if I am contesting election today, I don't think my opponent will defeat me. After doing all of my work, campaigning and every other thing, the next thing that I will invest in is as in my party agent, the people that will actually defend my vote, right from the polling unit down to the to the ward level, the state level, and at the national. This is how it's supposed to be done. See, every patriot, we must be very, very intentional with how we follow political and it's all electoral process. You cannot just sit somewhere and expect that, okay, my votes are protected. Nobody is going to protect your vote for you. And the reasons why there are party agents in every election is so that there will be orderliness, and these party agents are the ones who will monitor the process, who will ensure that the interest of their party or the candidate all the candidates are protected during the elections. So you can't just, as a party agent, go to on the day of election, sit somewhere, allow them, to write whatever result, ask you to sign, and you agree to sign, and they upload it, wherever they are uploading it, or wherever they are taking, the elections to. So it is my own opinion that candidates, especially politicians, they need to start investing in structures. As in, when I mean structure, people that will defend their vote on election day. INEC chairman or whoever, even this current one, you will not, Joash, you will not be in every. Sorry, I am concluding, please. Sorry, a minute. See, right. Joash will not be in every, polling unit, ward or state to monitor elections for you. It is your party agent that will monitor election for you. I am still on this page, and to those insulting me online, I am used to your insult. Please go ahead. Your insult is a booster, according to my Papa Oyedepo. When you insult, it means it is a booster. It means what I'm even doing is paying you. So you can go ahead and insult all you want to insult. 2027 election is around the corner again. If we don't make informed electoral decisions, we will still come back to this space and have this conversation. Thank you, Mindset, always.
Thank you very much. You see, I try as much because I wanted everybody to have the opportunity to air their view, but we're going to be very mindful of time. As you know, on this platform, I try as much to make sure that people are being very every view is being respected. So if people want to insult and people want to call names, I've told people you might disagree with somebody, but respectfully, you just tell them the reason you disagree with them. But there's something you said that I disagree with you. When you made reference and you mentioned it would appear that it's only obedience that's saying this election were rigged. And if we are being honest to ourselves, some of those that spoke on this platform, they are not all obedience, right? We have had those who supported Atiku Abubakar, persons like Ariwa and others who might not have supported. Not only obedient that said that the election of 2023 was rigged. I hope that you accept that, and if you disagree, but that's okay. Thank you very much, Theo. And on that note, should I go back to Comrade? There's a lot of people raising their hands. Comrade, you want to respond, or you still want Theo to continue with your time? Is that okay with you?
First and foremost, Mindset. Yeah, let me respond. I don't know if I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you see, Mindset, let's be honest. Something has gone wrong with elections and the way they are being managed. And many of us are here. We all remember in 2015. Yes, there were tensions, but we still have a little bit of faith. INEC under Jega, handled things with certain sense of calm and reliability. The process wasn't perfect per se, but it was believable. You could have a sense of belief. You could sense that votes actually counted, no doubt. But I want to take you to what Yaga Africa said. And when it comes to elections in Nigeria, whether you like it or not, Yaga Africa has an upper hand because they have men and resources at every polling unit. And let's read what they said. First of all, late opening of polling units. They said in their sample of over, as a lecturer, I believe in data also, of over 1,500 polling units, only about 27 of those units had INEC officials, not agent to INEC officials by 7:30 a.m. And by 9:30 a.m., 9:30, that's like 30 minutes to 10, malfunction, and only 2% were replaced. Delay in upload of polling unit level result to the election result portal, IRF. As of their reporting, only 73% of polling unit level results have been uploaded. Data. This is about morality. We all know today that if Atiku Abubakar was in sync with Rivers State, there was no how he was going to lose Rivers. And even from Yaga data, you can check. The person who won Rivers, as they said, was neither Atiku nor Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And if you look at the way voters swayed, senators, governors, reps, House of Assembly in Rivers all came from PDP. But the presidential result was APC. This can tell you the inconsistency and lack of the reliability of INEC under Mahmood. Yes, many things he cannot be blamed for, but as a leader, he takes the blame. Whether it is Togri, whether it is Beaver's malfunction, whether it is IRF, he takes the blame. It stops as his ball point because what? Whether you like it or not, we don't recognize these individuals who made those mistakes. He is the one at the top, and he has to take the blame. And I can give him only 4/10, to be honest, because there were inconsistency in uploading of results and even the preparedness of the result. Lastly, let me not bore you because as a co-host, I'm not supposed to speak or take much of your time. Lastly, there is supposed to be a test run of the elections and sampling of this IRF even before elections. You cannot go to elections without test running these things. I rest my case. Thank you, my son.
Thank you very much, Comrade, and thank you for keeping to time as well. I can see quite a number of persons raising their hands. Ariwa, please go ahead, and I will come back to Dapel. And we have Pharmacy and we have UD. And I'm pleased to say Mr. Eze have just rejoined us again. Ariwa, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mindset. Comrade actually did justice to a whole lot of things I wanted seeing, because it's fortunate that people can come here and tell you to blame yourselves for the failure of INEC, an institution that its budgets run billions of naira to run an election. And the entire purpose of polling unit agents that Theo was mentioning, I think Theo actually suffering from a lot of is also thinking about it, because that's just what could explain only defending this election. It's only APC members The people that have been voting in that polling unit for years came to vote in that polling unit, and they were told that they registered for their electoral card there and everything. They told them that their polling unit has been transferred to a very, very ridiculous distance, that they should go there and vote because they are not even registered in this polling unit anymore. There are failures and failures and failures, and Mahmoud, as the leadership of INEC, have why do we have an INEC? Why are people taking responsibilities of this body and putting it on citizens whose mandate that day is to vote? The fact that Nigeria is in shambles and you have to protect your vote to the results were collated and they were compiled and they were announced. And then somebody can come here and tell you that you should blame yourself. It's everybody's right to decide to run for an election. Peter Obi decided to run for president. Atiku Abubakar decided to run for president. Bola Ahmed Tinubu decided to run for president. Rabiu Musa also decided to run for election. It's all their fundamental right as Nigerians. It is the responsibility of INEC to do the needful. And when you decide to reduce this thing, that one House of Rep member in one unknown constituency or one irrelevant constituency, not to the people of the constituency, but to the calculation of APC, these people have numbers, they have interest, they have where they are concerned, and they have where you can do whatever you like. Let free and fair election holds there. They are not trying to rig the whole country to win an election. They know what they are dealing with. They know what they are looking for. Look at what happened in Rivers. So for somebody to come here and defend the integrity of the election and tell we Nigerians to blame ourselves or candidates that decided to contest for an election that failed them is quite ridiculous. What's that supposed to mean? Telling polling unit agent that the candidate should mobilize polling unit agent and proper structure. As a candidate, I'm going out to look for vote, calling on people to come out and vote me. I'm telling them my manifesto. Said I will for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade, and thank you for keeping to time. Unfortunately, some persons are dropping from the speaker section. We are not. I've not dropped anybody. So anyone that you see that's no longer on the speaker section, it could appear that it has to do with their network. I'm happy that we're having this honest conversation. If you disagree with anybody, raise your hand. We'll pass the mic to you. Sorry, Dapel, go ahead, please, because you have not spoken. Then I'll come back to you, Mr. Ezenwa.
My friend, I need to speak. I need to speak.
Mr. Ezenwa, your line is not even. Sorry, your line is not clear. That's the problem. Can you please mute your mic?
I'm hearing you very well.
Then if you're hearing me, what I'm asking you to do is that if you don't mind, sir, please, can you mute your mic? Let me address it, please, if I may. Hello? Okay. Now, the problem here is this. Your line is not clear. 1 minute you drop in, the next minute you're coming up. If you want to speak, we'll give you opportunity to speak. But the problem we're having is your line is not clear. So I'm going to speak to Dapel if you want you to All right. You can see that it's not that I don't want him to speak. I do not want a situation somebody would make it appear that because he's kind of from a different. He has a different view. He's not been.
Those starts from Yaga. So that's quite practical, and that helps keep the conversation going. Now, the blame on this election takes us to the second stakeholders, and that's the security agencies. They are supposed to make sure that ballot boxes are protected from against thugs. They are supposed to make sure that election results are not tampered with, and so on and so forth. And where INEC has played its part 100%, let's assume, they have done if there is a room for the INEC leadership to take an action that will strengthen the transparency of the result, and deliberately they refuse to do that, even when some participants draw their attention to it and they refuse to act deliberately with the intent to tilt towards an outcome, then they share absolutely in that blame. Now, I've been trying to reconcile a very big difference I observe. When you have a country passing through turbulent economic moment, the overall population will be inspired to change leadership, and you would expect to see a massive voter turnout. To my surprise, 2023 election has the lowest voters turnout since 1979. And that is stunning. I don't think they announced the president who, the candidate who had won the presidential at that level until it arrives Abuja. So between the journey from guardrails that was erected to protect the integrity of the elections. And these beavers were given repeated assurances that these beavers, they're going to do the magic, they're going to purge the electoral process of fraud. Only to be told, we all know, I don't want to be repeating story, that as all of breach, we're not going to go ahead with it. Now imagine yourself going to an exams and there's no invigilator. will the outcome of that exam be trusted? It's very unlikely. So the beavers was supposed to be like an invigilator in that exams. And so that's a big minus for the leadership of INEC, and you're never gonna put that blame on the law enforcement agencies. Now I want to address two things, and then I drop the mic, and I've had some speakers talk about it. One was that it was a disunity of the opposition party that led to their defeat, and therefore INEC should not be blamed. They should embrace failure and move on. I don't know. Forward, yes. And it's very unlikely, no. In 2019, we have Obi and Peter, Obi and Atiku. That ticket was tested in 2019. And they didn't win Lagos State. And it was not even Tinubu on the ticket, who is more loved in Lagos than Buhari. But they didn't win. But that ticket was divided into two. One head by Atiku, one head by Obi. And Obi won in Lagos. How many votes did Atiku get? Very marginal. That Kwankwaso is on the ballot doesn't mean if he is no longer on the ballot, those votes will go to Atiku. It's not automatic that way. So let's not hold on to that branch and use it to be, flourishing around. And thankfully, and I must give Mindset the credit, this is a type of space you don't allow name calling. And that's why perhaps a lot of people keep coming to it. And so that's good, and to keep it up. So freely say your mind, nobody's going to attack you. Even if they do, they'll be removed or be cautioned. Now, the second thing is people are saying the election is credible in one way because even primary school teachers, sales, lay people were winning elections and defeating existing candidates. When we are talking about the credibility of INEC, much of the focus is on the presidential election, not other levels elections. And I'll give you a little bit of a contrast. You see, in Nigeria, we do say that the law is weak, that our law is weak and our enforcement is weak. It's not weak. Our law, our enforcement is very powerful, but it's very selective. If you are the darling of the government in power, not just today's government, the law is almost powerless on you. If you step on the toes of the government in power, we've normal course. So other elections, they are just like sundry, but the main focus was the presidential election. I don't think they were mindful losing elections in other states and other seats in the parliament, but to get that presidential seat, because the office of the president has enormous political, judicial, and economic power at its disposal. Once they get that office, they can rejig other things around the country within a year. I yield.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor, for your wonderful submission. On that note, we'll pass the mic to Mr. Ezenwa. He wanted to speak earlier on, so he has the mic, sir. You have the mic, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just hope I'll be able to make some points very quickly. Please, it's important that people know what the beavers is, what they are. My brother that I was talking about, when you take some side of the report, I am a member of the board of Yaga Africa. So you, with the reports that you are quoting and that's not fair on the way to look at an election. Having said that, the challenge is not outcomes. A good process can produce a bad outcome. The bad outcome can produce, the bad process can produce a good outcome in terms of good, when you are looking at good and bad. But we have
All right. There's absolutely nothing else I can do to help Mr. Ezenwa. It is not from my end. His line is really bad. His network is not allowing him. I hope I'm audible. Hello?
Yes, you are. You are. Go ahead.
So I do not want people to have this at the back of their mind that he's not been allowed to speak, right? Everybody has been given opportunity to speak. I would love for him to come back and make a submission so we can have a balanced conversation. Those that would disagree with him would disagree with him, and those that would agree with him would agree with him. If there's any other person that would like to contribute, Ray, please go ahead, so you have the mic.
I think I was supposed to go before him, but you can go.
All right, Roy, please do hold your thought for a minute. You have the mic, sir.
Okay, thank you. I want to respond to a couple of speakers so far. The only lady that spoke, I think she spoke intelligently. She made reference. She rightly said it would be unfair on the immediate past INEC chairman whose stewardship is under review. It would be unfair to judge him on 2020 general election. I agree with her. So let's look at figures. Somebody rightly pointed out that the 2023 general election was the lowest turnout in the country. So for those who gave him credit for registering 93 million votes, that did not reflect in the trust Nigerians had for INEC. So for instance, in 2011, total number of registered voters, if I'm to round to the nearest whole number, it will be 74 million in 2011. Total number of votes cast, about 39 million. So it was 53.7% voter turnout. If you round it to whole number, it will be 54%. In 2015, total registered on INEC registration portal was 67 million. Votes cast, 29 million. Voter turnout, 43.7%. So if he had done, because this is verdict from Nigerians, for those who want to politicize this conversation, this is verdict from Nigerians. I will make reference to other verdicts. In 2023, total registered voters, 93 million registered voters. Voter turnout, 24.9 million, 26.7% turnout, the lowest ever. I would like people to go and read local and international observers' reports on 2023 election. For those who criticize INEC was too large to accommodate it. He said this thing on record, that politicians were too scared, but then they remembered that the president was too large, in his words, to accommodate whatever they were too scared of that Wike was doing in Rivers State. Right? So when you collect these things, you reduce it to what your party think or whether there was a coalition. Let us see how Nigerians are responding across board. Majority of Nigerians, different polls that come out, they don't have trust in this INEC as you have it. And it is a scorecard of proof. There are challenges we can, honestly excuse him from. But if you ask me, that results were uploaded days after, and winners were announced. Meanwhile, he promised that unless the physical result sheets were consistent with results uploaded on IREV, that result will not stand. Yet, they went ahead and announced winners even before all results were uploaded on IREV. That is the question we are putting here. We are not blaming INEC or the INEC chairman for every error. I have seen firsthand how dangerous it is even for election officials to do their duty on election day. The politicians are vicious. They bribe you if you don't agree. They cajole you if you don't agree. They threaten to kill you. And they tell you, if I kill you, nothing will happen. So it's very dangerous even to be on election duty. We can't always blame INEC on everything. When it comes to protecting the integrity of our election in terms of physical security, it is the responsibility of security agencies. And we know they do not have enough personnel to protect every polling unit. So I mentioned earlier that some of these things are individual, some of these things are systemic, some of these challenges are institutional. We don't have the capacity as a nation. Our security agencies don't have the capacity to protect every polling unit. I see when they deploy civil defense, some women. I'm not playing down on ability of women, but when they actually said, how are we not supposed to accept INEC explanation of glitches? For crying out loud. You can do audit of that website, and professionals came out to say there are no evidence of glitches. And INEC has not expressly told us what the nature of that glitch. They didn't. They just said glitches. It's not enough. That's the point I'm making. And please, I just want to beg everyone. My mindset is very specific. Let us evaluate the performance of the past INEC chairman. Let's not reduce it to if opposition parties don't come together. We are not talking about politics this night. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I know that Ms. Ajiboro would love to respond to your question, but let me quickly allow Roy to speak. Then I'm pleased to say we've been enjoying by Professor Chidodin Kanu. Roy, please go ahead. So Mr. Gibro will respond to the questions that Mr. Yudi asked. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mindset, and thank you to everyone for being civil in these spaces. I just have a few observations. But Yudi spoke very well. Dapel, Comrade Mo, Arewa Sources, they've stayed on topic. For a few of us, we have veered away from the topic. The space is to review INEC's performance, specifically under Mahmood Yakubu. So when we come on here and we're trying to point fingers or distribute blame, that's no. I'm sure Mindsets, if he wanted to, would organize spaces to review parties' performance or Nigerians' performance during the elections. Within 48 hours, as stipulated. Now, you see, all of this against the backdrop of how independent the Electoral Commission is, very independent, enshrined in their constitution by act and by action, by real intent to be independent, such that throughout the electoral process, even out of season, all parties can probe them and see whether or not they institute. One primary school teacher there did that, won an election, and then what? How has it affected the nation? I know the next thing we'll hear is that, oh, it's a start, it's a foundation, it's something. Nigeria just celebrated 65 years as a nation, independent nation, supposedly independent nation. Huh? You see, uh, if India can do what they did, South Africa can do what they have done. In fact, Ghana, their election is more credible. Why can't we? People make progress, nations make progress. You can measure that progress from election to election to election. But here we are saying 1979's election on turnout, on voting, on credibility is better than 2023. For goodness sake. And everybody's walking free. There are people educated, technically educated people that know technology, that don't know what glitch occurred. But we are commending the chairman.
I'd like to appreciate UD and Roy. I think very valid points were noted. And like I said earlier, right, this is not a conversation around rating, was he good or was he bad? It's about reviewing and stating what has been done. How could he had been better, right? And what can the next INEC chairman work on? Mr. Roy actually used India as a reference. He also used Ghana and South Africa. I'll also respond to UD, but I want to quickly like hit on this comparison. It's a useful reference, right? But I don't think it's a fair comparison. Yes, India runs elections for over 900 million voters, the world's largest democracy. But India was more credible. But realistically, the reason why we're having this Beavers and Hiref conversation in year 2025 is because Nigeria right? It's a lot different. Let me respond to UD. So UD, I really appreciate the fact that you challenge motives, notions logically. And you mentioned something about the low turnout, which I also saw in the comment section. I would like to say, like I said, it's my opinion. The low turnout in 2023 wasn't an INEC failure. It was a national context problem. And let's put the facts on the table, like you already did some, right? You said over 93.4 million Nigerians registered to vote, yet only 27% showed up. That's not because the polling units were missing or accreditation failed, right? The Beaver system verified voters in most areas, but the problem was outside of the polling unit. In case we forgot, the cash scarcity from the Naira redesign, it made basic mobility impossible. I think the Naira scarcity started months before the electoral process. People were worn out. The market women, the traders, their goods were perishing. People were extremely burnt out, tired. They've lost hope in anything, whatever government had to offer. Two, the fuel shortages. That alone crippled logistics nationwide. And somebody mentioned earlier that, the polling units were opened late because of materials could not be moved. This was due to the fuel shortages. Could Mahmood had created an oil and gas company to supply the trucks and this thing gas so that it can get another thing that changed the dynamic of voters turnout. Now, for the results uploaded days after, like I said, I'm not here to defend Mahmood. I don't work for him. I don't think I've even that was given. The INEC portal crashed under national traffic, and over 176 polling units were trying to upload simultaneously. Now, same with me while the elections were going on. Why the pleasant favor was that not put into consideration? What was the thinking? Why can't the server handle the pressure? Was this not supposed to be like planned for? Well, we don't know, but that is technology for you. We've had even as little as jam centers crash out. I wrote jam 1 year, and let's not even go into that. That's a case for another day. But the INEC servers were, based on what I read, they said the INEC servers were overwhelmed, but not hacked. And the upload was resumed later, and over about 98% of the results were eventually published. But by then, the public trust has already been damaged, because the expectations were, I have voted, we finished voting, I want to see the result online. Now there was a glitch. It crashed. There were rumors. It's been hacked. I have INEC to blame. I'll still go back to like where I feel like INEC could have, managed this better, right? But by the time they tried to get back up, people were already like disengaged. So I'll just say the problem wasn't concealment. It was a problem of capacity, a failure of timing, and not a deliberate manipulation that majority of us have tried to make it seem. That delay turned the technical glitch into a credibility crisis, because INEC's communication was too slow, and it gave people room to fill the silence with suspicion based on our experience in the past. So yes, the delay was real, but it doesn't mean the results were intentionally hidden or altered, right? Like we all make it seem. It just means that INEC overpromised on a system that wasn't fully tested at national scale. So what will I say? I feel like we should focus on the technicalities and say, yes, he did this, but this could have been done better, right? And I'll say the lesson from all of this for me is, next time for INEC, their transparency must include the failure in real time. The Nigerians can forgive the glitches, but not silence. The problem with what happened in 2023 elections was Mahmood not coming out to tell us at that time what was going on, updating us on what was going on. But at the same time, we can't fault. There's a lot of legal process that goes into making speeches, but I don't work for INEC. I don't work from INEC. I'm just talking from a leadership perspective, a youth perspective, someone in tech perspective. So, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much, Mindset.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Ajibori, for your wonderful submission. So If you disagree with her, please raise your hand. You can ask questions, she will respond. And if you disagree with other speakers, please raise your hand. On that note, pass the mic to Professor Chida Dinkano. Prof, thank you for joining us. Good evening once more.
Hi, Mindset Alex. Good evening. I should apologize. I'm joining the conversation rather late, as I told you. I'm sure I've missed a lot, but I should confess that I find the immediate past speaker rather triggering. She says she doesn't work for INEC, she's not here to defend INEC. If she worked for INEC, she could not have done a better job. And by the way, it's lawful to defend INEC, it's not criminal. And it's no use trying to defend INEC, telling us things that even people in INEC will not say, and then claiming you're not working for INEC and you're not defending them. We don't know where you work. And quite honestly, nobody needs to know. But I think it's disingenuous, verging on dishonest, to come to this kind of place and talk at us like all of us are illiterate. Let me disclose my credentials. I worked in the back room with Atahiru in INEC, and I worked in the back room with this guy until I decided the things happening were too much for me to stomach. So there are things I'm not going to be able to say here. But to say we can't blame INEC, we blame God, we blame circumstance, and do this rather uninformed comparison with India takes things rather too far. Okay, now, first of all, by the way, let's be clear. It's not just, we're not just dealing with scale and parameters of number of voters. Nigeria is 923, just under 924,000 square kilometers. India is 3.287 square kilometers. All right? Now, Nigeria has 389 ethnic and national groups, 500 language groups. India has over 2,000 ethnic groups. India is disconcerting in terms of, and as you've heard, there's nearly 1 billion registered voters. And to say, oh, you know, it's nothing, India finishes vote here and takes it to that next one, and it rather confesses to sheer illiteracy or sheer disingenuousness about the subject matter, or both. Now, in Nigeria, off-cycle elections are worse than the general elections. So in Edo State, which was off-cycle, so if you're talking of atomized elections, Edo State governorship was off-cycle. INEC had 4 different results for one election. 4 different results for one governorship election under Mahmood Yakubu. That was Mahmood Yakubu is the first INEC chairman to produce multiple results for one election. And no, it is no glitch when an electoral commission consistently produces different results for one election. So there is one on the IREF portal. There is a different result announced for the election. There is a different result issued to the party agents. And there is yet a different result tendered at the tribunal. That is obviously willful. And if you have participated or been witness to or in any way observe the process of election dispute resolution under Mahmood Yakubu, you will understand that this is beyond willful. You will see the way in which INEC has sought to subvert the process of finding out what exactly transpired and how they manifestly destroyed the process of fair election management. So to come here and say these kinds of things, it's either you don't know how elections work in Nigeria, you've not seen it up close on a national scale, in which case you stand aside, or you talk to us as if we have all gone to school and come from the same country and everybody shares the same desire to see that things work. Mahmood Yakubu, at least I've worked with 2 INEC chairpersons, including Mahmood Yakubu. And I can tell you that Mahmood Yakubu is crooked. I'm not even going to try and start shaping it up and shaping mouth about it. He's crooked. And he will admit that he's crooked. I don't think he's going to lie that, not admit that he's crooked. So how did INEC degenerate to the point where it is producing multiple results for the same election and institutionally refusing to admit that that is problematic or undertake an audit to see how that can be closed? Let's stop focusing on the so-called glitch. How do you organize? So you had an election in which you elected to 3 different offices on the same day: the presidency, the Senate, and the House of Reps. Now, the presidency is the only national constituency election in Nigeria. In the Senate, we have what? 109 constituencies. In the House of Reps, we have 360 constituencies. Okay? In the Senate elections, 109 constituencies, there was no glitch. And it was the same polling units that were used. In the House of Reps elections, there was no glitch. The same polling units that were used, 120,000 polling units. And then all of a sudden, in the presidential elections, there was a glitch on the same day, the same hours, for the same cycle of elections. And no one thinks that they need to understand how that happened and account for how that could have happened. And somebody wants to come here and tell us they have a monopoly of knowledge on technology. Come on now, guys. Sometimes you people need to treat us like we are adults, and that God gave us small brain. Stop treating us like we are stupid people and talking at us like we are stupid people and we haven't gone to school. We lack capacity to understand when people are crooked and when people are being criminal. Okay? The fact of the matter is, what happened was an undermining of the credibility of the electoral process. And
All right, sorry, I'm not sure why we lost Professor Chido Dinkano. I can see you raising his hand. I can see Comrade raising his hand. And Miss Ajibor, you raise your hand. Quickly, let me quickly pass the mic because I think Miss Ajibor has a question. So let's hear from Miss Ajibor. Let's hear from her, then I will pass back the mic to Comrade. Miss Ajibor, please go ahead.
I actually don't have a lot to say. I just wanted to let the professor know that we should not mistake disagreements for provocation. He mentioned that I was quite triggering, right? And I was just contributing my own perspective, backed by my facts and not feelings. If we're going to discuss or review anything INEC, I think we should do so on data, not based on you worked back end or you worked front end or you had tea with the INEC chairman in 1960. That's absolutely quite irrelevant. Let's speak based on the facts and data. And like I've said, it's not like I'm praising, or I wouldn't say I'm not praising that quite a number of things to be praised from a leadership standpoint. But I think if there's anything I've done, I've also stated that there are lacks, right? And there are, spaces for improvements. I don't think in any way I've given myself as someone here to win an argument. I'm not going to say, INEC was 100% good or the data was uploaded 100%. I never said that. So I think we should all respect that emotions run high when discussing electoral issues, but dismissing someone's intellect because they are making structured positions just weakens the debate. That's just what I just wanted to say. He can continue to give his points on how crooked he knows Yakubu to be. I'm just talking based on the data I've been provided with. Unlike him, I've never met Yakubu before. So yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened. We've lost Prof. So the thing about this platform is that we are always we accommodate everybody, and we are very mindful of the choice of what we use. And then if someone feels that you're working for INEC, and if you work for INEC, I don't think there's anything wrong in it, right? I don't think you want to. I mean, I'm not saying you are, but if for any reason you're working for INEC, there is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. It's your profession, is what you want to do, and you have every right to defend what you believe INEC have done. That is what the platform represents, right? Everybody's given an opportunity to air their view. Nobody's going to be told that you cannot air your view. So I hope you understand that we are not here to make you feel like, you're working for INEC is a bad thing. If that's what you want to do, that's okay. I'm hoping for Prof to rejoin us. On that note, I'll pass the mic to. Come already, you raise your hand. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. While Mrs. Ajiboro was making her submission, she said that 2 days after the election, almost 84% or 94% of the results have been uploaded. And I'm here to tell her that she did not listen to my earlier submission when I was making reference to Yaga Africa, because I was talking based on their report. And Yaga Africa is one of the best reporting civil society when it comes to elections in Nigeria. And they said that as of March 1st, 4 days after the presidential election, only 73% of polling unit results have been uploaded to the IRF portal. Only 73% after 4 days. But she said 94 or 84% was uploaded after 2 years. After 2 days, sorry. So this to tell her that is in contradiction with what Yaga Africa reported. If she has any source that said otherwise, she should name it. And then it's also directly contradicts INEC earlier assurance that the result will be uploaded in real time from the polling unit. And see, it is noted that this failure in real-time transmission compromised transparency and public confidence, and it has created room for suspicion and manipulation during the collation. You cannot on no basis come here and defend INEC or Mahmood whatsoever. I mean, it is crystal clear. You promised us something which you said you collected money to do, but you didn't what did you call it, give us the promise. And then somebody is putting blames on other things. I mean, why can't we hold the person in charge of that promise accountable? Like, for once, we are blaming petrol. She was blaming petrol scarcity for delay in logistics. She was blaming what do they call it, Buhari's Naira redesign. I mean, how can you blame these things when as the INEC chairman has right to meet the president on certain issues? So these two issues, she should come and tell us where she saw that 84% or 94% of the results were uploaded 2 days after, in contradiction to Yaga's report. This is my submission.
So you want her to respond to that question, because I just wanted to make sure what it is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because you are recording this space, and truth needs to be told. People will come back for reference purposes. So we need to state it clearly where she saw that 84 or 94% of results were uploaded after 2 days. Because Yaga said only 73% of results were uploaded after 4 days, which erodes every trust and accountability that we had for the election. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Ajibora, do you want to respond to that question? Okay. Unfortunately, she's not responding, and I hope I'm still audible.
Yes,
you are, Michael.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Let's quickly hear from Solo Penja quickly.
Okay, thank you, Mindset. Good evening, compatriots. An interesting discussion going on here. Reviewing INEC's performance under Professor Mahmood Yakubu. I like to review them by bullet points. Shambolic, abysmal, utter failure, a total waste of 10 years of electoral reform advocacy, and INEC worse than Maurice Iwu's INEC. That's my verdict on INEC under Professor Mahmood. People are harping so much on beavers. But let me take our mind back to the conduct of the 2019 elections. Professor Mahmood, INEC under Professor Mahmood promised Nigerians publicly that it had a back-end server into which results from the smart card readers would be sent. Of course, it was not part of the Electoral Act, but in some polling units, that was trialed. When push came to shove, at the Election Petition Tribunal, INEC under Professor Mahmood denied ever having a back-end server. Before this time, if people remember, Professor Mahmoud's INEC heralded Nigeria into that era of inconclusive elections, which brought a lot of confusions. Then going into the 2023 elections, there were lots of advocacy. Civil society, Nigerians, election monitoring groups, everybody advocated for some introduction of technology into the conduct of our elections, accreditation, transmission of elections. Professor Mahmood, INEC under Professor Mahmood, swore heaven and earth that there were, other persons have mentioned it earlier, that they will use beavers. They've requested funds and were voted billions of naira in funds for that purpose. He brought guidelines for the conduct of elections, which specifically spelled out how election collation and transmission and accreditation and viewing of election results would be done. He conducted that election. And as Prof was saying earlier, it is implausible, contradicting what Mrs. Ajibu to be put on record. That was a deliberate sabotage of that electoral process by persons. That was not a technical glitch. Persons shut it down so that they can use it as a purpose to manipulate the elections. That is the only plausible explanation for why National Assembly elections for House of Reps and Senate went through, but the presidential did not go through, using the same devices conducted at the same time. So if we look at the performance of INEC under the 10 years of Professor Mahmood Jega, I think it was a total waste of advocacy, because Nigerians wanted to see elections improve. But every election Professor Mahmood organized was worse than the previous one. There was no election in which he bettered himself. Every election created us more problems than he solved. Even with Maurice Iwu, there were incremental progresses in Nigeria's electioneering. There was ballot snuffing, ballot stuffing, ballot snatching. But with every election, there was one notch higher improvement. But with 10 years under Professor Mahmood, all the gains we made from 1999 up until he came into office in 2015 or thereabout, all were eroded. And we are back at this point where confidence in elections are very low. Citizens don't have trust in the process. People don't even want to waste their time to come vote, because what INEC has told them is that their votes don't count. So that is for me, that is the verdict of the Professor Mahmood Jega 10 years in charge of INEC. It's been a total waste of 10 years. We expected that by now we'll see incremental progresses in our elections, but there's nothing he can hold on to, nothing anybody can hold on to that was improved from the 2015 election. The 2023 election was worse than the 2015 election. I think the 2023 election was worse than the Maurice Iwu election of 2007. So I also aligned myself with Prof. People should stop coming on these places to bobo us as if we're children. These things happened in our lives. We experienced them. People are able to judge for themselves how elections happen. Even off-cycle elections were disastrous. From Kogi to Edo, elections which are just limited to only one state, you have this much confusion. And then when people try to pass buck and make excuses, please, for the sake of emphasis, under the law, election management is exclusively the preserve of INEC. Anybody on election duty on election day works at the place.
All right, so I'm not able to hear Solo Penja.
To
Can
the
anyone hear
principal
him?
officers, to the collation officers, everybody that day works at the pleasure of the INEC chairman. So people,
All right, so unfortunately, we've lost Mr. Solo Penja. He dropped. Professor Chido Decano has dropped as well. So let me be very clear. I do not want it to look like we are not allowing those who believe that Professor Mahmood Yakubu did well, or at least he did well to his best of ability, to speak. We did have Mr. Anwagu here with us. Unfortunately, his network really bad. It wouldn't allow him to speak. So if he's still on the platform, we are happy to allow him to contribute. I do not want a situation people will think that's okay because we have someone like him who's speaking based on the data and everything that he has, and he's not been allowed to speak on the platform. Some of you who knows how this platform is wrong know that I give everybody equal opportunity, right? And I want to apologize to Mrs. Ajibara. All this while I've been calling her Miss. Somebody just corrected me. So please, Mrs. Ajibara, I hope you're not offended. I was addressing you as Miss. I hope that's okay with you. Thank you. Tio, you raised your hand quickly. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, Mindset, thank you so much, my dear brother. The thing actually is that so long as we keep looking up to one man, that okay, this is the person that would save our electoral system in Nigeria. Trust me, we are going to keep having these issues. Yeah, it is, the bulk, I would say, stops at the umpire's table. But however, we must realize that it is not only the umpire that that conducts elections in the country. We must take into account all the actors, from the security to the voter to political parties and everyone, even civil society organizations and observers. We must take into account that even the media, that these are critical stakeholders in every elections. And trust me, we'll be back here on this space again after 2027 elections, to blame people for what would happen in that 2027 elections, all because we are so focused on only one person, neglecting other critical stakeholders who participate in the process. We are here talking about, because we are reviewing, obviously we are reviewing the performance of Mahmood in 10 years. How about we also review the performance of the returning officer, all the people, the professors that we normally send to, as in the professors that we normally send on every elections, to go and conduct elections. We don't even, one was jailed recently because he compromised, as in the 2019 elections thereabout in Akwa Ibom State. That person as well, it's a player in the process. And until we start holding everyone accountable, we are not going to make any headway. We have another INEC at the helm of affair. After 2027 elections, are we going to still, be blaming the number one person neglecting other critical stakeholders that will be conducting that elections. The point I'm trying to make is that it is about time we start holding everyone accountable, from the umpire to the least person that participates in the electoral process. We need to start holding even the security agencies that are supposed to protect life and property. We need to start holding everyone accountable, because even the police, the DSS, the army, which ordinarily are not even supposed to be participating in any democratic elections, which we are involving, in our electoral system, we need to start holding these people accountable, because it is taxpayers' money that many of them, that we spend on, many of these people to participate in the elections. So we need to start holding people accountable as well, and not just, INEC as an institution, but other critical stakeholders. We need to start holding them accountable, and this is the only way that we can, reform the system and have credible and transparent electoral, process. Yes, Mahmood was not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And I can tell you that with the structural problem that we have in this country, even if you mindset, or even my brother Royce, that we have blocked ourselves, it's normal. It's politics, but we'll reconcile later. Even my brother Roy, even if he is made INEC chairman today, he is going to fail. I am saying this emphatically, that he is going to fail. Why? Because something is fundamentally wrong with our structure in this country, as in most especially our institutions. Something is fundamentally wrong, and until we solve our structural problem, trust me, we are not going to make any headway with our elections. And the level of desperation that I have seen with politicians these days, trust me, we are not going to see, as in, we are not going to experience, maybe in our lifetime, especially those of us who are young, we are not going to see any credible electoral process in this country. People like Yusuf who are very desperate, people like I just have to mention him, please, I'm sorry, and several other politicians who are very, very desperate. If we don't hold these people accountable, and if our judiciary does not wake up to their responsibility in jailing and prosecuting, some of these people, trust me, we'll keep moving in circle. Earlier I was kind of, in my emotions, but now we have to look at, the entire issues critically. Mindsets. As a Nigerian, I am worried, because the leadership problem that we are having in our country today, lies squarely on the type of people that we are electing into different, political positions. If credible people with integrity are elected into, as in, various positions, trust me, there's no way Nigeria, will not get it right. But as long as these desperados are the ones who would bribe their way, cause chaos in various polling units to win elections, are the ones that will continue to, take decisions for us, trust me, there won't be any headway. And finally, finally, mindset. Just like in my own state, where the then governor, Bello, 2019. I don't know who gave him, helicopter that he was shooting at, voters around, Ghana side in 2019, dispersing them, from voting and all of that. I want to ask one question, and I would need an answer from any reasonable person on this platform. In such situation, who is to be blamed in this kind of situation? Thank you, mindset.
All right, very much you for that question. I believe those on the speaker section will respond to that question, guys. Because of time, we've discussed quite a number of things. We found out, there are those who believe that Professor Mahmood failed because he's the leader. He should have led. He promised a lot to Nigerians and he didn't deliver. And then there are those who believe that yes, things were not perfect, but then again, we cannot all blame him. Everybody have a right to their own opinion, and those opinions must be respected. Now, we're just gonna please. I don't want us to digress. I want us to stick to the topic because we know that there is a problem whether we're on his side or we're not on his side. What is the way forward? We have a new INEC chairman. What is the way forward? Yes, we have reviewed the time of Professor Mahmood Yakubu. What is the way forward? What have we learned? We need solutions. So please, let's not go back to what has been discussed, so we can round up quickly and allow others to continue other spaces. Please, the way forward, that's what I'm asking. I don't want to say myself, please, I want to respond to this, right? Ari, well, go ahead. What is the way forward?
Thank you once again, Mindset, for the opportunity. I actually had a whole lot of response to give, but since you said we should put that behind us and move on the way forward, I think the most important thing and the way forward to me, if you ask me precisely, I think is when people decide to understand the responsibilities that is bestowed on them first. If today you are appointed as the INEC chairman, you need to understand you're serving the people of Nigeria and not just one person. That particular belief and instincts in you will help guide you in making your decisions when it comes to electoral reforms and the entire electoral process as a whole. And going forward, I think it is important that we become more vigilant. We should pay attention to electoral reforms. That's if there's any that is coming on, and we should have an elaborate discussion and interpretations on certain things that INEC will tell us that there are guidelines or coming in towards the election, because there are a whole lot of things that we thought INEC made us believe that this is A, and then we later went to the judiciary and realized it is actually B. There was a whole lot of contradiction. People were working with a different mentality, and when the election or the process was interpreted, especially by the judiciary, it became another thing entirely. So I think there should be a whole lot of sensitization on that part, so that we know what exactly we're dealing with. We should not be going to an election with uncertainties, And when INEC, like what happened during the 2023 election, if INEC tells you they are going to transmit results in real time, it should be transmitted in real time. Let people do as they see. Let people be accountable for their deeds and their mistakes. Thank you, Mindset. I yield.
Thank you very much, Adewa. Roy, please, what's the way forward?
Thank you, Mindset. I think even in our submissions, I've picked the solution. Prof has mentioned some. Mrs. Ajiboro has done so. Dapel, Ariwa just now, and Comrade Mo. I'd like to add to that. You see, we can codify independence, the operational independence of INEC in the Constitution. Um, how the chairman, the commissioners, once they know that their tenure is not by appointment of the executive, and they cannot be fired by the executive, as is, they know that their tenure is secure, their funding is independent, they get their funding independent of the executive, their remuneration is comparative to any other electoral body around the world. That's a start. If we can also have a well written code of conduct that is binding on everyone, every stakeholder, whether it's INEC, whether it's the different parties, that's another way to do that. And of course, just like Prof mentioned, there must be a public audit. It must be something that happens with a frequency, with a defined frequency, not that it is an exception. Oh, we did it in 2023, maybe we'll do it again in 2076. No, it's something that we know. Oh, an audit is coming. We had an election 2023, February. We know that by November, an audit is happening, and it is happening independent of the electoral body as well. So independence has to go from the start to the finish, because as we have seen with everybody's explanation, what is drawing our elections back in terms of credibility is not size, because India has shown us that size is not the enemy of transparency or credibility. It's corruption. It's a lack of commitment to that. So if we codify independence executives from the judicial from the legislative, and all that, and we just have to get back public trust, where we can trust our elections, know that from the beginning to the end, if anything happens, we will know that the explanation is valid and we can trust it, not a glitch that has no definition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Chidi is here. So, Prof, what is the way forward?
Sorry, mindset. Sorry, I don't know. I started hearing myself for the last time, and I hope I don't continue to hear myself. The way forward is actually quite simple. We should stop sophistry. Yeah, and for those who are trying to talk about data, they are running away from data. Number one election should not produce 4 different results. Why is that so difficult? If nobody's challenging what I said here, that under Mahmood Yakubu, elections, the same election produces different results. Now, if INEC tells you they are going to be using IREV to display results, and then goes and manufactures, and before there is uploading to IREV, they have manufactured results, there is a problem. At the national, this is the presidential election 2023, and then they claim there was a glitch post hoc. In Edo State, there was uploading on IREV, and there was a different result. And as I said, they issued yet another set of results to party agents and produced another set of results at election dispute resolution. There is a problem. So first of all, there are different ways to metricate progress in election. You're asking what can be done. Number one, every election should produce one result. Full stop. And we actually go back, even with the 1983 elections, where people objected to NPN's moonslide, there was only one result. Go through the cases. Go through the election dispute resolution. In 1979, there was no question about the number of results. There was only one result. So that's the first thing. Number two, when Atahiru Jega took over INEC in 2010, the election that preceded him had 86.56% of the cases, talking about data, 86.56% of the seats contested, which were just under 2,000 seats, went to the courts for resolution. The tribunals resolved 86.5%.
All right, unfortunately, we've lost Professor Chidi. So let's hope he will rejoin. It would appear that he's having a network challenges. Yudi, please go ahead quickly, sir. What is the way forward? Yudi? Sorry, I'm not able to hear him. Can anyone hear Yudi?
No.
I can't.
Okay, so Yudi is from your end, not from my end. So as we are waiting for you to sort out whatever that problem might be, let me quickly pass the mic to Dapel. Dapel, please go ahead, sir. What is the way forward?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, so I have 2 brief recommendations. Number one, we should mandate the use of BVAS and RF. We've seen the error in the past, perhaps we've detected it, so let's put it to run, because the last election was questioned significantly on the failure of that BVAS in court. So let's try to put BVAS and let that work. And when voting is done, if you vote, because majority of voters in Nigeria have mobile phones, so there's nothing, it's possible that NCC can make it such that as soon as you vote, at the end of that polling unit, you get a text with the total votes of your own polling unit. And that will help build up transparency. Second is to decentralize the powers of INEC. And what do I mean by that? We should have, yes, the national chairman who is in charge of everything, but at the state level, I will suggest, maybe may sound weird, we should run the elections at state level and the results be announced at state level before they are now, officially declared in Abuja. But whatever they announce, they can announce, say, oh, Party X has won the presidential result. This official figure is written, is stamped, is sealed. And those to conduct those elections should not be INEC appointed officials or presidential appointed officials. To represent a broad consensus of Nigerians and impartiality, state elections for presidential slot should be conducted by state NLC leaders. So we have NLC presidents, so the chairman at each state, chapter chairman, should be in charge of conducting presidential elections in each state and declare the result in that state. And then we have it from all other states. That will reduce manipulations in terms of movement from the states to Abuja. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I don't know how you do it. How you keep your time is something that amazes me, right? Well, thank you very much. So, you raise your hand. Please go ahead. What is the way forward? Sorry, Mr. Yudi. Unfortunately, we're not able to hear you. I think we probably might to pass the mic to some other person. I think Roy has spoken. Okay, Prof is back. Prof, what is the way forward, sir?
Sorry, again, I started hearing myself. So I was saying very quickly, in 2007, about 86.5% of the cases ended up in court. Of all seats contested were settled by the courts. So when Jega came into INEC in 2011, he decided that was the metric that needed to be addressed, because politicians are rational beings. If you give them credible elections, you reduce the incentive for them to go to court. So, and Jega had 10 months to organize the elections of 2011. He reduced the number of cases, seats that went to court from 86.5% to 51.3% in 2011. And by 2015, the number of seats that ended up in court for the first time dropped under 50%. It was barely just under 44%. Do you see the metrics of progress? So the politicians were largely accepting that more politicians than not accepted that the elections were credible. Now, Professor Mahmood Yakubu had 4 years from 2015 to 2019 to organize the 2019 elections. What happened? The number of seats that ended up in court rose from about 44% to 56.1% by over nearly 12 percentage points. And then what happened? In 2023, the number of seats that ended up in court rose from 56.1% to over 82%, going back to where we were in 2007. For those saying you don't have to blame him, everything was hunky-dory. The evidence
is there in, again, that word, the data, so that those who want to know do data do it legitimately. Therefore, it is very straightforward. Address what? The metric of politicians buying into the credibility of elections. If elections are credible, politicians, you disincentivize the going to courts. And when you disincentivize going to courts, our courts work for ordinary people. And so there is a dividend for everybody. The third thing, every study of the electoral process in Nigeria has shown one thing. If you want to address the place where elections break down is collation. The lag between the voting point and the polling unit and where elections are finally computed. Close that lag and you sort out the problem. And DAPEL has sorted it out. IREV was supposed to address that point, which was why it was so controversial in the 2022 Electoral Act. Transpond results directly to one point, so from the polling units to the center, so that the issues do not arise. With National Assembly elections, that was done. With the presidential elections, that was sabotaged. Address that, and you return credibility to our elections, which makes my final point. We do not need a new electoral act. We just need to make the 2022 Electoral Act work with better electoral administration. I yield.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. Mrs. Ajiber, I will come back to you, and let me quickly hear from Mahan. She just joined us, and unfortunately, we are rounding up. Before I pass the mic to you, Ms. Mahan, we are rounding up. What is the way forward?
Yeah, good evening. So I will say the way forward to me will be, since the major feature of the Yakubu's tenure is the bold technological reforms. And from all the conversations that happened, the main weakness wasn't policy, but rather execution under pressure. So I will say the way forward will be that for every new technological reform that they are putting forward, they should conduct a nationwide mock elections at least 6 months before going into major poll. Because so far, symbolic tests have failed. They need to do better with stress-tested rehearsals from what we've seen in the 2023 election. And then also they shall consider developing a technology performance dashboard, which is publicly accessible, that will report the readiness metrics, like the number of BVAS units they've tested, the trained personnel, the network coverage status, etc. And also they should institutionalize contingency mapping, power supply, backup, battery backups, redundancy plans for rural and high-risk zone. All this should be institutionalized to avoid issues like this. Also with communication, I think they need to establish a real-time crisis communication center within INEC to issue updates on system performance during election. And also they should consider using multilingual public briefings and dashboards to show what's happening when uploads are delayed, instead of just giving people generic reassurances. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mahan. Thank you. Theo, quickly, what is the way forward?
Mindset and everyone on this space, the way forward for me is that we have to be very, very vigilant, even as citizens, of this country. And I would say that mindset, many people at the moment, they are not aware that many of the people who are resident electoral commissioners in this current, as in INEC, they were mostly, appointed by APC governors, by, some party, stalwart somewhere. Many people do not know. We've seen several, as in press releases from Serap and other, civil society organizations alleging that some current, resident electoral commissioners are appointees or are close to some of these governors, until we start addressing some of these issues, we are not going to make any headway. Again, in Edo, the person that was, resident electoral commissioner allegedly was Wike's cousin, and we saw how that election turned out. These are the issues. We need to start asking questions. Who are these people? And it may be very, very unpopular mindsets, but I'm saying it on this space. It is about time we stop involving these professors in our electoral process, because we have seen that they are not even helping matters. One of the reasons why many of them were brought into the process was because Jaga believed that, okay, these are his colleagues, they are very credible, they have integrity. That was one of the reasons why he started involving them in our electoral process. But I have just discovered now that many of these people, they always see elections as an opportunity to cash out, to change their life forever. A professor collecting 600,000 or 700,000 every month with no any other allowances will see an opportunity of a lifetime if any politician offers him 1 billion or 500 million to compromise the electoral process. Mindset, trust me, if you are the one, would you not jump at that opportunity? So it is about time we as citizens, we start as in we as citizens, we start being doing better for our nation. Because what we have seen at the moment, even the youth corpers who are conducting elections at the at the polling unit level, the mindset that many of them have is that this is an election, this is my opportunity. Many even pray that their service here should be during the elections, that they always pray that, okay, during this time I will naira. So there should be a a national consensus that we Nigerians, the ordinary people, we need to start changing our mindset towards elections. Our leaders should please make this country work, so that people will not see elections as a cash out, as in season for them. So thank you, Mindset, for always organizing spaces like this, where logical conversations are had, a platform where it's a go-to for everyone. Thank you for always holding it down for every one of us. And I pray and hope that 2027 elections will be better than what we have had in previous time, since 1999. So thank you so much, Mindset, for organizing this space, and I hope to come here next time again. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The space is here for everyone to be part of. On that note, I'll pass the mic to Mrs. Ajibora. I got it right now, Mrs., not Miss. Thank you very much. You have the mic.
Yeah, thank you. I want to appreciate everyone that's spoken on the ways forward. Most people has touched on like the points I had planned, but I'll still state them regardless. One thing everyone that's spoken has emphasized on is the strengthening of the of INEC technical backbone. Right, Vivas and IREV has proved that technology can redefine credibility, but they also showed that reliability is everything, right? INEC needs to perform independent technical audits before each election, just like I think Umar said. That is really, really essential. Stress testing the servers, the connectivity, and the data flow under real conditions, taking a sample size. It's something that we do in product testing for bank apps, for for platforms, right? So this particular platform should be treated as such, where there's a UAT that happens way before the elections. Another thing that they can do to improve that is to build a redundant backup system. It's something that all the financial services platform have today, where in case an upload fails, right, there's a backup system, right, that goes live within minutes. Seconds will be an overstretch, right? But let's say within minutes, we need to start approaching federal technology, right, like it's approaching the private sector. We also need to invest in the in-house data engineers, not just external vendors. It's okay to, award the contract to one of the best tech companies in the United States or in India. But it's important for us to also have our own in-house data engineers, in-house technical powerhouse, right? That has its own monitoring on how the BVAS, the technical bit of BVAS and IREV works. Another thing that we can learn from the past governance of Professor Mahmood is in 2023, logistics was the biggest invisible voter suppressor, right? And in this world where, in this term where we're embracing technology, I would advise that we use like GIS mapping and data modeling to plan the routes and deployments. I mean, let's take lessons from, like I said, we need to start taking lessons from private sectors. Take lessons from which logistic company do we have, JIG, or let's even say the one we mostly use, Chowdeck and Glovo. We need to have a GIS system, right, that tracks every vehicle going to supply these things. At what point, where are they, what's delaying, right? In real time. Technology is now advanced for us to be relying on just word of mouth, right? I think this is another step that the new INEC chairman can take. Another thing is, I think they should partner with the private sector, right? For transportation, for data, telcos, right? And even logistic firms, like I just mentioned, right? Under transparent contracts to guarantee timely delivery. I think if people know that, for instance, INEC is powering with Airtel, MTN, or whatever in the coming elections. Now, when it comes to telecommunication, everybody knows what industry or what sector, right, is responsible for the failure. Right, they don't share that responsibility alone. I think that's something that they should look into. It also puts those private sector on hit to do the right thing, right? I think that should also be considered. Another thing that they should do is they should redesign the voter education and engagement. The low turnout wasn't just apathy; it was distrust and confusion. Right? I think they should launch a continuous civic education program. Right? Led jointly by INEC, the CSOs, the universities, and this should not just be during the election period campaigns. It's not just about focusing on slogans and "we did for you" and "this time na better thing." No, it's not about that. It's about showing how one vote travels, right, from the accreditation to the collation, visually and publicly. Let people know how the system works. If people understand how the system works, they can choose to know how they come in and how they can, help make the system better. They should also, guarantee security as a shared mandate, right? I think security agencies must be held to joint operational accountability with INEC, right? I don't know if it's possible, but they can look into it. They should check the legal implications on maybe publishing the security deployment maps, right? Probably the one without sensitive details, right? To reassure citizens of presence and order. If I know that in my polling unit, I'll be allocated 10 police men, 3 security operatives. I don't know, but I don't know how possible that is legally. But I think that is another thing they can use to guarantee security. And just like everyone has said, they need to improve their communication transparency. From what we've learned in the last election, silence in moments of failure destroys the credibility faster than the failure itself. INEC needs a real-time crisis comms unit to address technical breakdowns, force reports and updates within minutes, not hours, right? They need to invest in a crisis comms unit, right? From the polling unit to up there, reporting, fact-checking online, and stuff like that. And then finally, right, of course, we need to speak about the parties. I think the parties must also obey internal democracy rules and candidates' guidelines. Politicians really need to stop seeing electoral reform as an INEC issue. It's a national governance issue. So when INEC comes up with reforms, I don't see a reason why politicians need to start, except because they have ulterior motive. But I mean, that's not conversation for today. And finally, I would say that they should also institutionalize election data transparency, just like everyone has said. All election data, the turnout, the logistics, the funding, the complaints should be open sourced, right? We should not have to wait for a foreign observer report to understand what happened in our elections. That nonsense has to die with 2023. So to close, I'll just say that this next phase isn't really focused on replacing Mahmood. It's all about converting lessons into structure, right? So 2023 exposed the electoral weaknesses that we have, and 2027 must prove that we've learned from them. Democracy matures only when institutions absorb pain and improve from it. That's the real legacy worth building on. I wish the new INEC chairman the very best. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Ajivola. I was raising my hand just to remind you of time, but thank you for your wonderful submission. Prof. Chidi, you raised your hand quickly. I'm not sure what you're getting, but we're running up.
Very quickly, just 3 things. Number 1, on election security, there is actually a standing interagency consultative committee on election security. It's called ICES. It's been in existence for over 25 years. It is co-chaired by the INEC chair and the National Security Advisor. And when you see the reports of ICES, you know that ICES works. That the problems come from somewhere else. I'm not going to say a lot more than that. Number 2, election logistics. That is the most advanced dimension of INEC's election management. And in every election, that is the part that scores the highest. If you notice, INEC always has at least one retired military officer who is a national commissioner. Usually, INEC's logistics deploys the best logistics in the world is not in the private sector, it is in the military. All right? The military is the biggest logistics agency in the world. Nigeria uses military-grade election logistics for the management of our national elections. That is the best developed dimension of INEC's work. It is not the problem. 3, outsourcing to technology. Everybody's going to, that is where we have the problem. Technology does not solve problems because technology, to begin with, has to dock onto 2 things, people and processes. When you don't address your people and you don't have processes, no tech solution works. The problem we have, and we don't have the time to discuss this, but let us understand that. All the people saying INEC needs to do techie this, techie that, it is not the technology that is the problem. It is the people. I yield.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. Sorry. Let me. Comrade, please, if you can round up quickly your final thoughts, sir.
Okay, I mean, everybody has exhausted what INEC needs to do. There's just one point that have not been touched, and it's, election offenders. They must be prosecuted. Every single one of them, from the ballot box snatcher in the streets to everybody that is rigging elections. We need to see justice. At least let people know that if you tamper with election result, you will be dealt with. Like, we don't see it in Nigeria. We've seen people destroy ballot boxes, nothing has happened. We've seen people don't agree, nothing has happened. Let us see for once that election offenders have been dealt with appropriately. I mean, even Buhari said that if you touch a ballot box, that the AK-47 will answer you. Have we seen it? No. So people need to see so that they know the consequences of their actions. If you touch the result, this is what's going to happen. But if that's not happening, politicians will also have their way anytime, any day. So I rest my case.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Mo, Theo, Roy, Professor Chede, Arewa Sos, Mrs. Ajibola and Ajiboro, and to every other person that has contributed to this wonderful topic, and Mr. Ezenwa, who is no longer on the platform. It's been an interesting one. We have learned a lot. Yes, mistakes were made. We have learned that we have all agreed that it was mistake well made, right? So what we are hoping for is moving forward. If the new INEC chairman have listened to this platform, to this spaces, maybe he will, maybe not. Those who are very close to him, these are the things that Nigerians are saying that needs to be done to improve the next election coming up. Yes, it's been a very interesting one. It's been a difficult one of the most difficult spaces because we have some technical challenges, but I must commend everybody on the platform this evening. We do what we know how to do. We have carried everybody along. We respect everybody's opinion. That's why the platform is here. So if there's any other topic that any other person is interested, please send me an email. If there's any person that wants us to come on the platform to speak, we are here, and I will do my possible best to make sure we carry everybody along. But one thing I will beg each and every one of you, please, before you're coming up on the speaker section, make sure that your network is working properly. Let's not open a space, we close it and open it again, and make sure we sort everybody out and we carry everybody along. And for those who are in the comment section, unfortunately, I'm not able to read out the comments. Your comment on the comment section. I do apologize.